It just came.
Yeah, today. It just came this afternoon.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Are we ready to roll? Are you ready to?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I'd like to call the meeting order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll need a motion for the adoption of the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We'll consider approval of the following. Approved minutes of November 9th, 2015 Committee of the Whole meeting and November 17th, 2015 regular Board of Education meeting. We'll be approving the financial report for the period of July 1st, 2015 through November 30th, 2015. And we'll be approving bills for the period of November 1st, 2015 through November 30th, 2015 in the amount of $2,394,737.84.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
District leadership planning, Carrie?
Yes, tonight we have the legislative update first, and what I can tell you is that we did not have our legislative breakfast this Monday because it's next Monday, always the third Monday of the month. So we will hear, I'm sure, about a few bills that are going to have public hearing on Thursday. One is the referendum bill, and then there's a few others too, and I believe on Monday they will come and talk a little bit more about the referendum bill. It would be the bill for the technical education teacher certification and reporting of crimes in the school district, and then there's also a bill for an addition to the a private charter school in Milwaukee to add to the Milwaukee system. So there's a hearing at 9 o'clock Thursday morning this week. And so I'm sure we'll hear an update on that on Monday morning when we go to our legislative breakfast.
Okay. The academic and excellence pillar, strategic planning, that would be...
Yep. Tonight we have Dan Mella, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and what he is going to do is he's going to introduce two teachers who were students in the master's program, Jessica Barrington, our gifted and talented teacher from Riverview, and Brad May, sixth grade teacher at Riverview Middle School. And I'm going to let Dan take it.
Yeah, they are. They're my prize students. I'm so proud of them. They've done such great work. Jessica and Brad are going to come up and they're going to talk here for a little bit about what their research project was in the middle school and kind of the implications about what it's meaning for the kids in their class and how they're progressing and doing something different and interesting and also getting to some higher outcomes and some cool achievement activities. So anyway, but before I let them start talking, I just wanted to mention that this is one of the key important parts of our strategic plan in the academic pillar. One of the, if you remember, we have the cohort of teachers that are going through the UWGB program, getting their master's degrees, and every single person in there, whether it's a team or an individual, comes up with an action research project that they apply some interesting learning theory, new ideas, better ideas, changing something up, and they study it, and then ultimately make changes in their classroom or what they're doing, and then apply that to what just locally and potentially across many grades in the district. So what this program has the capability of doing is taking a great idea and bringing it across many different teachers and across grade bands and improving the entire system. So periodically we're going to come back and show you what people that have gone through the cohort, received their masters, did all that work, created those huge papers and wrote everything that they had to do, and how that's impacting our students and their colleagues. And so this is the first, I think the second one of these that we've done, and we're really proud of the work that they've done, and they've done a ton of it. So without any further ado, Jessica and Brad.
Well, first of all, I think Brad and I would first like to thank the board and their support in being able to provide this opportunity to the teachers here in the Plymouth School District. It's not something that is common throughout the field of education, so it was something that we were very happy to be a part of, the first cohort group, as well as to be able to have a chance to earn our master's degree in a setting that made it easy for two young parents to be able to do so. Bringing it to the school district made that possible for us, so thank you very much. We appreciate that greatly.
Yeah, our question that we thought about as we started into teaching, or since I started in the Plymouth School District and started working with Jess, is does the inclusive model of education have an effect on high ability learners in the math classroom? And kind of going to where we started, when I started working in Plymouth, a lot of the high ability or the higher achieving students were being pulled out of the classroom. And for me as an educator, it was difficult to see that because I knew the impact that they could have on the other students in the class and the information they could provide and what I could do for them was very important.
Not only that, but it was also important for us to consider their social-emotional development as well, and being able to interact with peers inside the classroom setting was essential to developing relationships, not only with their peers, but also with their teachers. So we wanted to find a way to provide the enrichment that they were capable of doing and that they were needing in the classroom setting so they could develop those relationships. So there have been a lot of different thoughts and ideas in regards to gifted education, and one of the things that is commonly talked about is the fact that is the importance of having those children together at some point in time during the day essential. And this is just one of the researchers that's a well-known name in the field of gifted education. And as you can see, they do address the fact that number one says placement with others of likability when learning is serious. So in order for them to be able to stretch their thinking and to be able to push themselves a little bit further to their academic limits, the importance for them to be with a like-minded student is quite apparent. Now, of course, we did want to have them working with students who maybe were not identified as gifted, but could meet those expectations that we had, those high ability learners. Maybe they're not identified as a GT student, but they were fully capable of doing some of the enrichment work. So we wanted to be able to provide that to students who perhaps I wouldn't normally get to work with because they weren't identified as gifted and talented.
So we started out surveying students, asking them questions, how they felt in the classroom, if they were being challenged, if the pacing was appropriate, and getting their feedback on different lessons or activities that we were doing or resources we were utilizing in the classroom. And from that information, we were able to start to develop what I call a checklist or a task list for these students to go through the curriculum at the pace that was suitable for them. We also surveyed the parents as well, and we do have a video of the parents and some of the questions that they answered and their responses to that we'll share at the end. Some similar questions as the students answered, just getting their perspective on it as well, because we wanted both feedback from the students who are in it every day and the parents and what they're receiving back at home.
So from the feedback that we were able to receive from the students, we were able to determine whether or not we should proceed with the learning in the format that we were providing to the students, or if they would like to see it in another format. Brad's really done an awesome job with his math students in creating these task lists and personalizing them so that students who need some extra support have that extra support, but students who are able to move on at their own pace are able to do so. Now that's not to say that Brad's not providing them support as well, it's just providing them the support at the point where they need it. So we noticed that a lot of the students could move on past certain things when other students perhaps needed a little bit more support, and rather than holding them back, they're able to move forward on their own through that task checklist. Brad's also done an amazing job of finding wonderful resources for his students to utilize. He is consistently updating his Weebly with videos for students to be looking at if they have a question and they perhaps need to find an outside resource. He's also looking for a lot of different activities for the students to do. And some of those are online resource activities. Others are things that we call performance-based tasks. And of course, there are teacher-led lessons as well.
Jess kind of mentioned, we are implementing a lot of different strategies in the classroom. The student feedback was important for us to gather that information, so we were giving them what they enjoyed and something that they could relate to. In my classroom, this is what you would see, kind of those bulleted spots. You'd see kids working on their own individually, working on a checklist that I have set up based on their pre and post-test or pre-test. Collaborating with peers, talking about what they're figuring out, what they're learning, conferencing with me or with Jessica or somebody else that might be in the room. I'm also delivering some whole group instruction, but mainly small group or individual direct instruction to those students that are of need. There's a lot of small group activities, and when the students bring up good ideas or activity ideas, we try to do a whole class activity that brings everybody together.
I think one thing that this has really led to is the fact that students no longer look to us for solutions. They oftentimes will start off by asking their peers or looking for a resource themselves before they come to one of us to ask questions. And one thing that we wanted to move away from was if I provided an enrichment activity for students to do, oftentimes the kids would not ask Brad questions about it. They would wait until I was able to come into the classroom to help them out. And we wanted to move away from that. We wanted them to know that, you know, it doesn't matter who you're asking the question to. If they can help you, use them as a resource. And if they can't help you, then move on and move past and continue looking until you find someone who can.
So with my checklist, one of the main things that I start every unit with is a pre-test. And from that pre-test, I'm able to gather valuable information on the questions that I'm asking, how the student understands that learning target or that learning objective that we're trying to accomplish. And then the post-test later on, and you can see both scores, what they achieved after they went through the checklist and completed their tasks that they needed to work on. And all those situations, they've improved a great deal. And it shows the growth up there too.
And a lot of times, for example, if we look at student 6 right here, on the data up here, we can see that their pre-assessment for that particular strand or standard, they already had a 100%. Now that's not to say that they weren't able to learn something from that particular strand. We've been able to challenge them with, like I was talking about, performance-based tasks, which are application-type problems for the students to utilize rather than just calculation-type problems. They're going further in their depth and complexity of math. Rather than being able to just solve a math problem, they have to explain their thinking. They have to be able to share their thinking with someone else, which is one of those goals that we have for what we call a 40-year learning target. In 40 years, can they take this and use it in the real world?
So here's just I have a few examples of a checklist for different students based on their pre-test and the tasks that they had to complete. Some of it might start with more real-world story-type problems and then get into that application. Some of it starts with a skill-based problem or they're researching and trying to figure out different items. And you can see their pre-test scores were all pretty good, but I still wanted to make sure they had that standard secured or that learning target secured. So that was one student. And as you see, I highlight this for them, and this is kind of the pathway that they have to achieve, or kind of my expectation that they can master that learning target. And each one is different.
And the students in Brad's class are very, very good about self-reporting. So for example, if a student does a 10 marks track, we do have expectations for them to have at least 80% mastery or to demonstrate at least 80% mastery. And the students know that if they have not shown that at that point in time, that they can go ahead and try it again. They can make corrections and move forward from that. Now, with that being said, the students are really self-sufficient in that they know how to go back into 10 marks so that they can practice that task again. Rather than having to come to Brad, they are able to reopen the track. That's what they say is reopen the track so they can practice the skill again to have that 80%, at least 80% mastery. And oftentimes when it's below the 80% mastery, it's a significant gain the second time they've gone through and done it again.
And after they don't get that 80%, that's where the direct instruction, going over what they did, conferencing with peers or learning from others really comes into effect in the classroom, and that's where we see those big gains after that. So these are, again, just some examples of different students and their lists.
Can you talk about the colors?
Yeah, so the colors that I have on there from the pre-test kind of determine what I'm highlighting and how much that they have to do. So the orange, they start at task 2 and have to work their way down. The blue, they start at task 3. The green, if they have 100%, they go right to the performance task to see if they can apply what they already know to a real-world problem. And then if it's under 100%, but it's still green, then they start on task 4. And the students now have a good understanding where they're going to start based off of their pre-test. So
It's also a really good skill for students to learn in order to do the self-pacing, because they have to learn how to set goals and set time limits for themselves. They realize this is the time span I have to get through this task checklist, and here's what I need to attain on a daily basis so I can make it to the point by the end date. Oftentimes we have students who we want to do the enrichment or the challenge board project or challenge board opportunities with, so we talk about with them, okay, what do you need to attain in order to get to this point so that you can finish some of those more challenging or those enrichment materials?
this was just an example of a performance-based task that it's not just a skill-based type of problem. This applies very well to the 6th grade where we do some field trips, we go to the Science Museum, we've gone to the zoo. So they're aware of these trips and the planning that has to go into it and deciding what we're doing and the cost and all that. And they're able to hopefully relate it to real life. Hey, this is what is the real cost when we go on these trips. And a lot of questions, and then at the end, this one, they have to write a short note telling me what one they want to go to and why, and give the supporting through math and other reasoning.
And with the performance-based tasks, they're very open-ended in that there is no one correct solution. For example, if one student would reason that this class trip should be going to the zoo because of, there's more activities that more people will enjoy, as long as their reasoning and their mathematical thinking backs up their explanation, or their explanation backs up their final solution, we're okay with that. It's not just a one number solution that we're looking for, whereas in typical calculation type problems, we look for, okay, is the answer correct? In this case, they do have to apply some of the 8 mathematical practices, one of them being that they can critique the reasoning of others, in that they'll share out and they'll talk about why did you choose this field trip location and what were your reasons for doing so.
And just some pictures of my students in class working in different small groups, individual, and this is pretty much the same every day in class. I mean, this is the learning that you'd see.
So things that we learned from our study through the master's cohort were a couple of recommendations for you. So one of them, the big one for us, was to be able to find different pathways for students to achieve in the classroom. So we don't want to close any doors to any of the students. We want to make sure that they're all open and show them that they can all get to the enrichment if that's what they desire to do and if they have the ability to do so. And any student, it doesn't matter whether they're recognized as a gifted and talented student or not, they all have the ability to get to that enrichment section of their checklists. So other things that we found were recommendations from this particular study were that we wanted to be able to discuss with administration the appropriate placement of students who demonstrate high ability in math. And I think that our administration is very, very supportive to being able to find those alternative pathways for the students who are capable to demonstrate their high ability in math and finding ways to challenge them as well.
Some things to look at or consider, implications that have come up in the last year is with these students learning at a fast rate and being able to apply their learning to real-world applications. High school mathematics class at Riverview, we've talked about and would like to continue to discuss as an opportunity of that happening at Riverview Middle School. The ability to have a schedule that allows for flexible grouping, where we can group kids, move them around as needed to meet their needs in the classroom. Documentation to support student achievement. We've always talked about how are we providing evidence that they are achieving these and moving at a rate that they are demonstrating if they're actually holding on and securing those those learning targets. Developing curriculum for multiple pathways. And we do have a video.
We talked about just a couple of pieces of parent input that came from our survey.
And as that's coming up, if you guys have any questions for us, we could answer some of those.
How much participation did you receive from the parents? Because a lot of those online contracts and that type of thing, in a welcoming home environment. How did that all play out?
much of the much of the activities that we had students do did happen in the classroom setting. There was a few students who would go home and they wanted to do some more of the activities at home, but the majority of it, I would say, happened within the classroom setting.
How long have you had this in practice?
It started about 2 years ago, and last year was kind of the full year, and that's where our research came from, and I'm continuing on with it right now.
And I'm implementing some of the things as well into my 7th grade math class. A lot of the students that I have were students that were in the class from last year that we did this study with, so they're familiar with the concepts, for example, the task checklist. So it's extending, I think, across the grade level, not just one classroom. We're sharing what we've learned from this project as well as just being able to work together. I learned a lot from that as well.
I'm right in saying that there are a couple of instructors besides yourselves who have picked up on and are beginning to do some of this work around you.
Your measurements, you're measuring the achievement through this progressive approach. From a student standpoint, have you noticed are you surveying them for their attitude about math, or are you engaging them in that conversation as well? And are you seeing results that, from the beginning to the end, that they're more engaged, they're enjoying math more?
I think one of our questions was about their attitude towards math,
Okay.
And how they felt about themselves as a math learner, which is also very important. If they feel that if they're confident in their math learning, then they are going to be more likely to achieve. If they're not feeling confident, if they don't feel like they have the support, oftentimes it's a mindset rather than a capability thing.
Right, and I guess, so the result is, you're seeing that, you're seeing the kids.
The students, I feel were very, very proud of the achievements that they were able to make.
Okay.
Those students who were able to move into the enrichment section of the task boards were often challenged to the point where they got very frustrated, but we all know that when you have met that point of frustration, that's where learning happens. And for me, that doesn't happen often with the students because they maybe are not exposed to challenging material. As a GT student, they perhaps don't know how to move past when a challenge happens. So we also had to keep their attitudes uplifted or keep them positive about the fact that, okay, this is a challenge, this is a good thing, here's a point where I can learn. And I think that we were able to see that. I feel like we have more students who are willing to take a chance and try the more challenging work than had we continued with the resource room concept.
Yeah, and that, I guess that point is what I was looking to hear, that we're seeing more children wanting to engage in this and take on a greater challenge. So that's great.
And I would say there was a handful of students that didn't necessarily enjoy math, and it kind of turned their perspective on it, that they started to really get engaged into the curriculum and what we're doing, and they started to like it a little bit more.
So about how many students are you working with in this manner right now?
Last year was about 32 out of my 55, and this year I have 45 students, and I would say about 30 of them to 35 of them are on this.
And the 7th grade students that I currently work with, I have about 30 of them who are learning math in this way as well.
And the reason the child wouldn't be on this pathway or in this model?
I'm looking for ways also to modify it to meet their needs a little bit more, different resources.
Okay.
I've tried it with all my students,
Yeah.
and they've struggled at times, and they need a little bit more of that guided, direct instruction. And they do a lot of the same things in
Okay.
class. I just kind of direct them a little bit more on when to do it.
It's all about trying to find the best fit for the students as well. Like we were saying, some of the kids are able to move at a faster rate, and we don't want to be holding them back. We also don't want to be rushing the students who perhaps need a little bit more time and more support in their learning.
level of difficulty and the volume of practice work, he and I both feel has been very well planned out with the pre-tests being done in advance. This has probably been the most progressive learning curve in math that he's ever had.
Work at her own pace and not have to wait around for everybody else in the classroom to catch up with where she's at. And if she masters a skill, then she can just keep moving on. So I feel like she's making a lot more progress.
I think that my child's needs are being met because the teachers are working so hard at offering differentiation for all the students, and they're working together with our gifted and talented teacher and the classroom teacher. However, at the same time, I think it depends on the individual student and what they need.
The self-paced learning has been huge for Addie, and in the past she's enjoyed math, or she hasn't enjoyed math, and has always really said that she's been bad at math. But her attitude toward math has really changed this year, and the ability for her to push forward the curriculum as well has been a big factor in that.
Yes, with the individualized plan he has and the goals that he has set, there are challenges on the grade level.
If she's being challenged too much, she gets frustrated and gets upset, and she'll come home and tell me that. Where I'm not seeing that at all, but I'm also not hearing her come from saying I'm bored and I wish, it's boring and I don't like school or whatever. So I think she's being adequately challenged at this point.
Yes, once again, I think that the teachers are working together. The two teachers, our gifted and talented teacher and our classroom teacher, to make sure that the materials are differentiated, accelerated, and enriched. So I do think that the individual students' needs within that classroom are being met.
So they're really kind of work at her own pace, and that self-pace factor has been a big factor in that. It's been able to really push her and allow her to meet her needs.
To be in both Mr. May's math classroom with the class, the 6th grade class, but also with Mrs. Barrington, that he gets to do some additional things and additionally be challenged in areas that he really is interested in or is advancing in.
I would strongly agree, and he does enjoy doing group work with other advanced students. They learn from each other. If the group is also other students that are very inspired and passionate about moving forward.
Definitely, she's very social, and I think if she was on her own trying to do something totally on her own in another room, she would miss that social interaction. And when she does get challenged, I think it's nice to have her peers there to kind of work along with and work through problems.
I think that my child benefits best from likability students who challenge and encourage him and to grow in his own interests. I think when we have the mixed ability, I think sometimes, again, it's one of those options where he doesn't want to take the time away from kids who may need that extra help. So it may limit him from growing to his highest potential being in that classroom setting.
A pretty social kid, so she's always been really hesitant to be pulled out of the classroom to meet her academic needs. At the same time, she gets really frustrated when the kids around her aren't going at the same pace she is. So I think that it's a balance for her, understanding that balance. So the ability for her to really have the right classmates around her. And so I think this self-paced aspect of it and being able to still keep the classmates around her, but push forward at her pace has been key for that.
Thank you for all your work and what you've done, and for going back to school yourself and getting your master's on this.
Yes.
Again, the deep overviews of Harvard.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it's great.
I'd just like to highlight again that the work that's done by the people that are in the master's program as part of the strategic plan is to grow and develop teacher leaders and experts and increase their professional capacity to the point where they are the ones that are helping others around them grow, and they're the people that are a go-to resource. And as you can see, just in this brief presentation, there's some real expertise that has developed there and is going to continue to develop. And you can see the energy and the passion and the amount of work and the dedication to that work on behalf of the kids of the district, it's amazing. I mean, anybody can open up a textbook and go through the textbook, and I'll give this kid an advanced textbook, and I'll give this kid an advanced textbook. This is really a huge undertaking to individualize for all of these different kids and to understand them and learn who they are and make that commitment. And this is an example of the kind of work that is done in the district, and just a real important example of the people that are sitting out here that do this on a daily basis. So, good job.
Yeah, it's
Very nice
It's fantastic, and your implications about building curriculum and how we leverage this, I guess that's a critical piece, because the great work you have to share that now and take that through the rest of the school would be fantastic.
I will also tell you that that the second cohort will build on projects that the first cohort had worked on.
Great.
So you may see some of these projects even expand. And going back to the expertise, you saw a really great example tonight of what happens when you have teachers with students that have a high level of expertise with what they're doing. We had a tour by the Waupun School District last week with the Food Science and Ag Center and the Science and Tech Center. And as the school board president walked away, he said to me, "I am so impressed by the expertise of your teachers." That's exactly what hit him. And I think that you can see it here, and that's our goal.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
I also want to thank Dan for all his work with the program.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
And now, do you want me to go?
Yep, would you?
Yep, now I want to introduce Dr. Rauscher, who will talk about another wonderful piece of our academic strategic plan. So.
In addition to developing teachers, obviously a key part of our strategic plan is to develop our students. And what we want, our overall goal, is that when kids leave us, the doors are open for them to do whatever it is they want to do. So we're always trying to think about how can we do things here that will help kids be successful while they're in school, but also beyond school. How do they transfer that learning? This could be creating something new. This could be publishing something. It could be patenting something. Could be all of those wrapped together depending on what project they take on. So I'm going to introduce two of our teachers first, Conlon and Gail Litt, and I'm going to make them stand up here by. I didn't tell them that part. I wanted to make sure you come. Connie teaches our culinary arts classes, and she's also our youth apprenticeship liaison. And Gail teaches culinary arts as well, and teaches food science. And I think the two of them are fantastic examples of that goal in the strategic plan, because what I see when the two of you develop curriculum is that you really strive to help kids do things here that will serve them beyond school. I hear them talk all the time about how can we create authentic experiences, how can we create things that help students meet industry standards. And the other thing I hear you guys talk about is how do we help kids find their passion and just go with it and run with it. And all of those things, I think, fit into that part of the strategic plan. So one of their students is here with us tonight, Derek Schweiger. Derek wants your return to come back. Let's just get by your teachers. Derek has taken all 4 of the culinary arts classes that we offer already. He has also taken food science. This year he's in advanced food science, and he's in the ProStart program, which is another culinary kind of an advanced culinary piece. He also works at Antoinette's downtown, and we made him wear his medal tonight because as part of some of the school things he's done, he's been involved in competitions that are in that really authentic piece, that real world experience. And this one came from Fox Valley Tech just recently, right? Yep. So those are some of the things that we do in school to prepare him. But why Derek is such a great example is he has gone beyond the classroom. And one of the things he did just recently is decide he was going to develop his own chili recipe for Plymouth's Chamber of Commerce annual chili cook-off. That wasn't a class assignment. That was just an example of Derek saying, hey, I love doing these things. I've got some skills. Gail would say he has a true gift. And so he decided to apply it. So now we're going to invite Mary Hauser to come down, the executive director of the chamber, and I'll let her tell you the results of that contest.
I was very excited to hear that Derek wanted to be in the chili cook-off sponsored by Maggie's Closet, and I know he'd worked hard on developing the recipe and working with his teachers on coming up with just the right recipe. And the night of the chili cook-off, we went in to sample it, and I didn't want to leave. It was so good. I knew it was going to be a winner. And Derek not only won our contest this year, but he won with 51% of all the votes that were cast. He not only beat his employer, Antoinette, who had been the past winner for several years, but he won by beating 5 other opponents. So congratulations, Derek. We're thrilled to have you as our winner this year.
Thank you.
And other people we should probably recognize. Derek's mom and dad are here as well, and we know parents are the reasons our kids are able to achieve, so thanks guys for coming.
That's great. So Derek, no samples?
That's right.
He's been a really, really busy boy.
We are working on an opportunity, perhaps on a professional development Friday or something, for him to cook for the high school staff.
Oh,
we may contract with him to do that.
Very good. Congratulations. Yeah, good job.
Thank you. Well done.
Now, we have, excuse me, we have a board election to fill for our board vacancy when John has resigned. We have 4 candidates for us, Michael Legg, Tony Backhouse, Commissioner Miller, and Jim Wilson. And they had presented themselves before us in a meeting, in our last committee of the whole meeting, and they gave us our presentation. So at this time, we have ballots before us. Now, because there are 4 people, state law requires that they have to have 51% of the vote, or in our case with the board, 4 people have to vote for that individual. So we're probably going to have several ballots. The first ballot will be kind of an elimination ballot, and the second ballot will be to see if we can get 51%. At that point, we will take a third ballot, again, to see if we can break, if there's a tie, we would be able to break that tie. And after that, then I would probably ask the board to table this meeting until next month, where we could have more discussion at that time. So if we're prepared, let's take the first vote, and we will, Anna, will you pick them up for us? Okay, thank you.
I'll just say the name of the person. First one is Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Miller. What was that one? Commissioner Miller. Oh. Tony Backus. Tony Backus. Mike Oleg. Mike Oleg.
Okay, so we will.
I would try to vote one more time,
Yeah.
otherwise table it.
Yeah, I believe that would be the correct, because it's a tie. Under state law, we need the 51%. So let's take a vote again. Is there any discussion? Does anybody have any?
You know, all of our good candidates, and it seems to me that there's the we don't presently have anybody on the school board with students in the school. We're just kind of in a unique position in that. And we've had that in the past, but our kids have graduated.
We're all getting old.
But on the other hand, you know, somewhere along the line, I think I heard that most effective school board members are those that have served, go off, and then come back on. And I'm not sure where I heard that, but you know, so tough choice, I guess.
No, I think they're all good choices, and that's part of it. You know, they're all good choices.
They're all good, yeah.
It's a good
And,
background.
exactly.
So, so are we ready to vote one more time?
So if we don't have 51%, are we going to vote again? Are we going to put it off until next month?
Well, let's see. Yeah, see what you have otherwise. My advice would be to table it until you can meet as a committee of the whole and have a further discussion on what to do next.
Right.
That would be my advice.
Tony Backus. Mike Olick. Kenesha Miller. Tony Backus. Kenesha Miller. Tony Backus. So you now have 3 for Tony Backus, 1 for Mike Olick, and 2 for Kenesha Miller.
So you could have a third election between Commissioner Miller and Tony Backus, if that's what you would like to.
They have 1 more, and I do have more balance, so.
Okay.
Is that what the board would like to do?
So, but,
So you vote for one of those two or abstain?
right.
Right. You vote for
But
one?
would not Tony win at this point?
No,
Because
under state law,
because it's not
he needs
51%.
four of us.
4 votes.
Okay, yeah.
So let's take the ballot again.
Tony Backus. Tony Backus. Tony Backus. Tony Backus. Kenesha Miller. Kenesha Miller.
Tony Backus.
Okay.
4
So,
to 2.
Tony, you have 51% of the board? I'm sorry. You have 51% of the board, therefore you're elected.
Right, then we will swear Tony in at the January Board of Education meeting, and you will be seated at the February Committee of the Whole meeting.
And when would you would have it?
Right, right.
Okay.
Anyone can do that.
Yeah. And the rest of you, you're invited to,
Is there a reason you can't be sworn in tonight?
We don't have that on the agenda.
Our meetings are open, so he can still come, like, to the meeting of the whole next month, which is the week before the regular meeting. But thank you for everybody that,
and
desired to be on.
please, you're invited to sign, for the upcoming election. Please, if you wish to do so. And congratulations, Tony.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then the board, in the organization, we have to elect the treasurer. I guess we need to have two independent things.
Yep, due to the election of Pam Holzheiser, the vice president, as vice president of the board last month, we have a vacancy for the treasurer, and so we do need to nominate and elect the treasurer tonight until we elect officers in May.
I'd like to nominate Jim Gambrell.
Second.
Any other nominations? Nomination is closed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you. Good job, Jamie.
This is a period of public participation. Did anybody sign for anything? Okay, thank you. And then we go to board liaison reports. Community Ed.
We just had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, so I've got three things I want to report on. The first is one more positive thing about the school district. Sue Fike had involved a lady, Sue's on the Community Education Board, involved her in the community book read, in leading that. And the comment this lady made, and I don't know who it is, but afterwards said to Sue, "Thank you for getting me involved in that. I had no idea that the Plymouth School District has stuff like this happening." And I just love to hear that kind of stuff about our school district. Statistically, we learned that in our middle school athletic program, there are 6 different sports that are run through Community Ed, and we have 325 students that were involved in those 6 different sports. And those sports were primarily coached by the staff of the school district, which is always a positive thing. So, and then in the Community Ed programming as a whole, we have about 10% of our school district population. I had said to John and Dan earlier, I thought it was 1,800 people, but I had my numbers goofed around. It was 1,180 people that we had involved in Community Ed, which is roughly 10% of the population of our, school district. And I think that's a really good thing. We're basically having, again, the number of students that we educate. I think we have about 2,200 students here, is that correct? So,
Yeah, how about?
So I think that speaks well of our community education, the scope and outreach and what we're doing in the community. You received in the Plymouth Review today, or if you get the Plymouth Review in your mail, the course listings for January through April. Sign-up is now open. We have 23 new classes that have never been offered before. Some of the more interesting ones, there's one on the development and growth of ISIS. Certainly would be a good thing for us to learn about. Out in the new FSAC, the Food Science and Agriculture Center, they have a class on hydroponics that's open to the community, as well as small space gardening. And I think the most interesting one to me is the new class called Pound. Now, a couple of years ago, it was our community ed program that really championed Zumba as the fitness thing, and that's now caught on in almost every fitness program in the community offers that. So we've moved on to what we believe is the next craze, and it's called Pound. And to get an idea of that, you use what are called whip sticks. Think of high energy air drumming, and in a course of your class, you can burn 500 to 900 calories, performing about 15,000 reps per session. So if you want to get in on the next exercise craze, this is it. It's called Pound. Look for it in your registration brochure. So.
Sure, do we get earplugs for that?
Yeah.
Earplugs for that? Earplugs.
It's air pounding.
It's air pounding.
Oh, just air.
Yeah.
So not
It's just
small.
your notice ticks bump, 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 dancing.
Something.
So always good things happening in community ed.
But what happens if you break the sound barrier?
Sonic boom.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Wow. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, sounds good.
Sounds like a good restoration room.
Thank you, Richard.
I like that.
Stress reliever.
Yep.
Note to self.
And then foundation, Bob?
Foundation did not meet this month, but we take this season off. But I think I can speak on behalf of the foundation that we'd like to thank the community for their support this year, the foundation, all the contribution, all the hard work of foundation members, for all the contributors from the community who've supported the foundation in all the different ways, particularly the Science and Ag Center out there is a great example of the work of the foundation, and it could not happen without all the help from this community. So thank you very much for all the work this year. And in addition to that, we're coming to the end of the year. So if you would like to contribute to the foundation, I'm sure the foundation would still like to have your support. So please consider that before year end. It's tax deductible. So that's a great thing. So other than that, I think that's probably what the foundation would like me to say, and hope that everyone have a happy holiday. So.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep.
Family Resource Center, Pam?
Thanks. For the Family Resource Center, they have a Love and Logic series that starts in January. And it's for preschool and early elementary parents. And this is a very cool class. It helps parents avoid arguments and gives you one-liners to say, like, I love you too much to discuss that right now. And kind of, divert the, not that children are argumentative, but it helps with that. And it avoids enabling and begins empowering kids, so some great things there. So I would recommend that. It's only $20 for 4 classes. So it's really a phenomenal series. Starts January 18th. They're Monday evenings, 6 to 8, over at the Generation Center. $20, and have your money in by January 11th. 892-6706. And that's it.
Is that offered once a year or less than once a year? Do you know?
I want to say once a year, and we may not have offered it last year because
Yeah,
we
I don't
needed
think
an
you did.
instructor. Correct. So now, what is it? Melissa Udovich is going to teach it
Okay,
for us. Yeah, good stuff.
great book.
It is, yeah. So that's my report.
Thank you, Pam.
Yep.
Professional Development Council, Sally?
The staff, the students had off while the staff met a week ago Friday, I think it was. And I was given information as to what they were going to be doing about 3 weeks ago, and it's not in my head anymore, so Dan's going to try to.
You will meet. I've got it.
We prepared.
We will meet tomorrow, and Sally will be there to talk about the upcoming Professional Development Day. But the last one was diverse across the district again, doing all kinds of great work. The elementary focused in 2 grade bands of kindergarten to 2nd grade and 3rd grade to 4th grade. After some team building activities that were adventurous and fun, and got the staffs together from the elementary, and they had a good time. Got a little exercise as well. And then they built curriculum and writing procedures and practices across grade bands, aligning them. And then they did math with one group and writing in another group, and then swapped in the second half of the day. So they had a good experience on that day. A lot of team building as well. In the middle school, they started out tying together a number of different initiatives around things like STEM and differentiation as a large group setting, and having some Q&A and sharing of some ideas. And then they split off into multiple different areas for curriculum writing related to STEM and incorporating some of the STEM activities, and also continuing on the differentiation pathway that you just kind of heard about right there. So another very exciting day there as well. And I don't think you did any physical activity, did you? No. Okay. We're trying to mix that in. We're trying to do some team building and physical activity like the first day of school on a regular basis, and some culture building as well. At the high school, they focused on the academic pillar almost exclusively, and each department has a different initiative or a couple different initiatives related to a goal within the academic pillar.
And so it's kind of across the board. For example, the math group that did the development of the technical math, and they're working on developing a technical math course with Lakeshore Technical College, met, and they are looking at multiple different sequences of math, how that plays into LTC and our MSOE, crossing those curriculum areas together, and so it's all within that academic pillar, how to extend and meet the needs of different students in a curricular area but still go to a high level of math, but maybe in a different way for everybody. So just as an example, math was taking in that direction. So in general, another wonderful day, and Sally, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll work on the next day.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. We have nothing from the consent agenda to discuss.
Excuse me, Tim?
Yeah.
Do we need to have a CISA rep? We used to have that, and he wasn't always very active, but is it necessary or is it not?
Yeah, it's required, but we could elect him after the next election.
We can elect him in May. The
Because-
only time is at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah. So, that election could be done in April. So, as far as the president's report goes, first of all, it's coming to the end of this fiscal year. The holidays are coming up, and the teachers are really having especially the elementary teachers are really having a wonderful time with their students. They're getting all excited and happy. I would like to personally thank, on behalf of the board, each and every one of our members of the staff. We really appreciate what you have done, both our district leadership team, our teachers, our janitors, all the way down to the cooks, everybody. It's been a wonderful year. I've really seen a lot of fine development coming from our professional staff. I'm really pleased, and like the meeting we had today with the mathematics and our teachers applying themselves to our master's program. I would hope that everybody has a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year, and we'll be able to get back to it after the first of the year. That's the end of the president's report.
All right, fantastic. And for the superintendent's report, I think I'll start too by just going right back and saying thank you to this board for doing the support that they have and giving the support for this district, because we have a unique district, we really do, and it has outstanding people in it, and the support that you have given us to be able to develop and grow and continue to move forward is astronomical. So thank you very much for everything. Also, we do have some accomplishments I'm going to talk about. First of all, our FSAC. I've never heard that before, Richard, the Food Science and Agriculture Center. I've never heard that before. Our Food Science and Agriculture Center, the students have harvested their very first crops. It was a variety of greens, and we were able to serve it in our cafeteria, so that was wonderful. Also, our Plymouth High School One Act Play received the Critics' Choice Award at the Wisconsin High School Theater Festival held at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. It is the highest honor possible. And thank you to Herb Stoltenberg for directing the play, and Brad Fike and all the students who participated. Plymouth High School is also one of the 4 schools in the state of Wisconsin that was selected for the Global Navigator Award. This is a grant award that will give many students in our high school an opportunity to participate in a study abroad program. Again, the Plymouth High School was only one of 4 in the state, so we are very proud of that. And again, our world language teachers have a lot to do with that, so thank you to them. Our winter sports are off and running, and our fall sports have wrapped up, but we did have 4 football players receive the Academic All-State Award from the Wisconsin Football Coaches Association. Samuel Staling, Jared Holdridge, Gabe Meyer, and Mitchell Meyer all received that award, and they did have to maintain a 3.75 GPA in order to do so. So congratulations to them. Tina Hendrickson, our Plymouth High School biology teacher, received her national board certification, and we now have 3 teachers in our district who have received this honor, and it is a very high honor, very rigorous procedure that you have to go through in order to get this. And those teachers that do have it right now are Jennifer Martin, our gifted and talented teacher at the elementary school and high school, June Winkle, business education teacher, and of course Tina. And I want to just remind candidates that are wishing to serve on the school board should file the registration papers by 5 p.m. Tuesday, January 5th. And the 3 seats that will be on the ballot will be one in each area, A, B, and C. And you can go to our website for more information. And also, please be sure to check our website and take in a few of the holiday concerts that are happening. They're wonderful. We could hear one through our board meeting tonight. So, great way to spend some time. Dates to remember, December 21st, this Monday, we have, this upcoming Monday, we have our legislative breakfast at 7:30 at Generations. December 24th is the winter break. January 4th is returning back to school. January 7th, we have our area negotiators meeting at 6 p.m. in the boardroom. January 12th is the committee of the whole meeting at 5 p.m. And then going a little further into January, we have our January legislative breakfast at 7:30 a.m. at Generations again. And the January Board of Education meeting is at 7 p.m. on the 19th. That's all. And I also want to say happy holidays to everybody. Thanks for everything.
Carrie, I have a question for you. For those interested in running in the spring election, because we have 3 seats open, the city, out of the city, and then member at large. So somebody could, if they're in the city, are they going to run for the city or member at large, or how does that actually work?
They would have to declare what they're running.
They have to declare where they're running. Okay. Thank you.
That's all. We need to adjourn to closed session.
Yes. We need to adjourn into closed session under 19.85 Wisconsin State Statutes to consider deliberating the negotiation of the purchase of public properties, and this is the selling of the property on the corner of Highway 67 and Hilldale.
So moved.
Pam?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Sally, yes. Richard?
Yes.
And Jamie? Yes. And Bob?
Yes.